People see all your success now, and I mean, the point of the podcast is to have, other young up and coming filmmakers sort of be inspired, and for something that seems like it's unattainable, to, get to have or see a conversation with you, who started literally in her bedroom with her brothers. And that sounds terrible, but not
Not like that, people.
Not like that.
Oh no.
This is Tv&R.
So today's episode will definitely go down as one of my favorites. It reminds me of my roots, where I came from, where I started. And if I see people who I started with shining on the global stage like Rethabile Ramaphakela is, I can only be excited about my own future. And I hope after you watch this episode, you'll be excited about your future as well. They've created shows such as My Perfect Family, shows such as Got the Life Crisis, most recently Seriously Single, and of course, How to Ruin Christmas, The Wedding. Rethabile Ramaphakela, one of the 3 founders of Burnt Onion Productions, speaks the art of television production on Tv&R. From the creators of How to Ruin Christmas, The Wedding, please welcome Rethabile Ramaphakela.
Hi. Thank you for having me. How exciting. I mean, we've been dying to do this.
Literally for like the last week, I think it's been.
Yeah, well, actually long. We discussed it last year.
Yes.
And then,
And what an incredible year you had last year. Obviously, congratulations on How to Ruin Christmas, The Wedding. Was the reception what you thought it would be?
No, not at all. Like, I mean, you think people will like it. You're like, oh, this is nice. I mean, in post, we're like, yeah, it's nice. People will like it. And then what ended up happening, I was like, what's going on? Like, I mean, are you guys watching the same show we did? But it's good. It's good because I think like what we were writing, and I was saying the proposal documents, I went back to it, and everything that we wanted the audience to feel, everything that we wanted people to see and understand, it actually, happened, which was amazing.
Which is what? So you come in to write, I mean, what was the brief in creating something like How to Ruin Christmas, The Wedding?
Well, we were in lockdown, a grim time for everyone. And we were just like, oh man, we need a comedy for the end of the year. Like, we really want to make a comedy. And Kat and I were like, let's make a movie. Like, let's make a movie. And we're like, yeah.
I mean, like as people do, let's make a movie.
Yeah, but we're like, we'll keep it contained and whatever. And then coincidentally at that time, we were in conversations with Netflix because of Seriously Single, our movie that was coming
Your other
out on the
movie,
platform.
yes.
Yeah, just all these movies coming out. And we started talking about doing a Christmas special, and we pitched them then the story about this girl who ruins her sister's Christmas wedding. But there were so many things we had to take into consideration. We knew we were going to shoot in lockdown. We knew there were going to be so many restrictions, so the story had to be compact enough to sort of still be great and funny and fun, but still speak to the masses. And I mean, that's all we wanted to do. We just wanted to spread some cheer on December after the rough year we had, literally.
And it was difficult shooting in lockdown, I think, for everyone. But what was the difficulty on your end that we perhaps, as the cast, even didn't quite
telling you guys
see
to keep your masks on?
I mean, we got used to that.
No, I think it was definitely just a whole case of you have all these lives. And at that point, Corona, it was like a thing that no one really knew what was happening. Like, what is it going to do? Can you get it? So it was very confusing. So to house like the entire cast and crew in one place and shoot every day, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's like this, because more important than anything was the safety of everyone and making sure that everyone was safe. And that's why we decided to house everyone, and no one could go home just for those reasons. We didn't want to actually have a case on set, and we actually didn't. Which was incredible. Yeah, we had no cases on set, which is amazing.
People see all your success now, and I mean, the point of the podcast is to have, other young up and coming filmmakers sort of be inspired, and for something that seems like it's unattainable, to, get to have or see a conversation with you, who started literally in her bedroom with her brothers. And that sounds terrible, but not
not like that, people. Not like that. Oh no. Oh no. Oh gosh, what did you do? No, not like that.
No,
That she means
that's a
our
different
office.
movie.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
But you started, I mean, you created My Perfect Family in your bedroom.
Yeah. So it was just like, obviously, how many years ago is it now? Sure. I don't even, I
Yeah.
can't even count.
I don't-
Oh, actually, it was
Yes.
our 13th birthday last
Oh,
Friday on
yay!
the 8th.
Happy birthday! So it's
Thank
been, what,
you.
13 years? 13
Yeah,
years.
13
Sheesh.
years. Yeah,
The whole human.
13 years.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy to think. It's a teenager, and it's so
Yeah.
good to see our teenager being a teenager
Yeah.
and going through all the stuff. And that's all it was. I mean, we knew we wanted to start a production company. So, like, we started it. It was actually just me and Teppo. I started it while I was at AFTER in my third year. Yeah. Kat was out doing other
Oh,
things.
yeah, he was like on
production
Rhythm
companies.
City, not Rhythm City, what was it called? Backstage.
Backstage. Yeah, exactly. And he
Okay.
was also producing. He was working at another production company. So we started it in my third year at AFTER. I was like, you know how they say AFTER students are arrogant? I was that girl. I was like, I'm going to start a production company with no sort of clue of what that meant. But anyway, Teppo was like, yeah, let's go do it. And I was like, yeah, let's go. We did the things of registering it. Everything was good. And then Kat, in the middle of the year of 2008, he was like, I want in on this.
Was he unemployed or what?
He was like, actually, I also want to work for like myself. Myself and not for other people. So we're like, okay, fine, you can come sit with us. It's okay. Yes. And how funny, he became the MD when he joined last. But anyway, story for another day. No, he has the most experience, that's why. Okay. And then we got the SABC had released a brief for a sitcom about growing pains. And we came up with this show called My Perfect Family about a child star who lives with divorced parents, and he's just trying to get them back together. My perfect family, my perfect family, my perfect family, my perfect family. We're a family. This is my perfect family. We're family. This is my perfect family. And we pitched that, I think, in about November of 2008, and by the beginning of 2009, we were told we've been commissioned. I know, crazy. Like it just. But here's the down. It's not all good news. That year was the year that SABC also went into a financial crisis. So we actually didn't get to make the show until 2011.
Okay, so, I was about to ask because I remember reading something that said you guys pitched it 3 years prior to it actually coming on TV, but it wasn't because they were saying no to you, it's because they just didn't have the cash.
Yeah, exactly. So as we know, unfortunately, the national broadcaster goes through these crises, and we were like, yay, we have our first commission. And then it was like, but it did two things for us. Number one, we obviously still carried on working for other people. We weren't full-time working for Burnt Onion Productions at that point because we couldn't. There was nothing there. And number two, we got to really work on those scripts. Like, I think that was kind of a blessing in disguise, is that it helped us really hone in on the story and the show. So by the time that when SABC was like, okay, go, it was, I mean, we started in pre-prod in July, shot by August, on air by September. Wow. So that was season one, but because we'd worked so hard on those scripts, it wasn't so bad.
Well, had that not happened, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation because I would have been 3 years younger and too young to play Thando Nkosi.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. So everything happens for a reason.
All of it. What goes into the process of creating a TV show? What does it mean to be a producer? Like, people don't know. So school us.
Okay, what does it mean to be a producer? Being a producer means you are the person that brings everything together from the beginning till it appears on your TV screens. Okay. So you are there from the conception till you've handed it into the broadcaster and they say, yeah, it's all good to go and can be played. So it sounds easy, but it's not. There's different kinds of producers. There's creative producers, there's financial producers. So you can play on any side of the sphere, but it's good as a producer to be able to understand story, even if you don't write, but also to understand the finances and budget as well, even if you hire the line producers.
Speaking of, when you start your first show, like My Perfect Family, who wrote It was your first show. You had this brilliant idea, but you're technically not a writer.
No,
so
not at all.
how did you navigate that?
Well, we obviously came up with the concept. So Kat and I are really good at just like bouncing ideas off of each other. So we know the story. So then obviously, yes, we're not right. Well, Kat had more experience at that time, but we hired a head writer. We hired writers that had been in the industry for a while. And I even got to try to write an episode. I remember that so well because when I sent the first draft, Kat was like, "What is this?" He was like, "What is this? What did you write?" I was hurt, hey. I was so hurt because
you like, put your back into it.
I was like working so hard on that thing. But in the end, I know by season 3, I was head writing.
Yes, I remember that.
And I wrote. So, I mean, the thing about writing though is it's a muscle. You just, like with anything else, you just got to keep practicing and it will grow. And the moment you stop, then you don't. But yeah, from season 1, I could see my brother going, "Oh my goodness, what did they teach her at AFTA?" And then obviously by season 3, I was head writing.
Yeah. I mean, that show, I think, was way ahead of its time, if you think about it. I mean, it's representative because it was created by young people. And I think that's what the difference was. Because it was like, it's a show about a family, but it's got swag as well. Like, it's a little cool. Because, I mean, remember, the soil was not the soil. The soil got to do the music for My Perfect Family before we got to do the music. What is it about Burnt Onion that you think gives you guys the edge?
I think the comedy thing is a big part of it. I think in a time, especially if you look at now, I mean, last year at the SAFTAs, there was no comedy genre nominated, nothing. Yeah. And that's quite scary to be in that kind of position.
But why did that happen? Are you saying there were no comedy shows?
No, so I think there weren't enough. I think there were maybe like 2. I think there were maybe 2 that were entered, and obviously you need at least 3 to make the categories work, which just shows you it's a sad state of affairs. I mean, comedy is something that we all need, and I mean, I think Culture in Christmas has just proven that. I think it's proven that people enjoy the genre and they just love that kind of stuff. Even Seriously Single did very well on the platform. So I think we don't get stuck in a box. We do reality shows, lifestyle shows. We sort of just like diversifying, trying new things, and they don't always work. I mean, not every show is a success. There's some things I'm like, oh gosh, why did we even do that? But the point is you keep trying and you just keep going. You just have to do that.
Where to from here? I mean, you're doing Netflix stuff now, so literally you're all over the world. Your name. I mean, when How to Ruin Christmas starts, it's your name. How does that feel? That must be so cool.
It feels so weird because I know almost everyone has Netflix on their vision board. It's just like this is where I want to be. So to think that like a story we created was like seen across the world is just insane. I still have to be like, what is this real? Is this happening? It's exciting.
I want to break this down lastly, just so that people understand the process that goes into being a producer and having your show on a platform like Netflix or any of like the national broadcaster or Mnet or whatever. What is the process? What are the steps? Speak to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
All right. So usually there's a brief put out by the broadcaster. Basically, they'll say, we want a show like X. Yeah. So like I said, SABC had a brief that said, for My Perfect Family, we wanted a TV show about the growing pains of being a child. Then you come up with the concept. So if you're not good at ideas, team up with really good writers, creators that will write you a wonderful proposal. The proposal is there to sell your idea. Yeah. Like our whole thing was about this Black girl who ruins her sister's Christmas wedding. And I think that's interesting. Like, why is she getting married on Christmas? How does she ruin her Christmas wedding? By sleeping with I hope you've all watched it because I'm about to spoil it. But anyway.
I mean, it sits there. I don't think it can be spoiled.
Just like, I hope you watch it.
Otherwise, we're not allowed to talk at all about it, are we?
Anyway, exactly. So she sleeps with the groom's brother's, who's the best man, and he's married. And, that's already a sales pitch. We didn't have all of the nitty gritties sorted out. So once you have that and the broadcaster lets you pitch, they're like, okay, cool, let's make this happen. And usually you get a development contract first.
Okay.
So they don't usually say you'll go into production because they have to see how the scripts are going to turn out. Then you get your writing team, you sit in writing teams, you think about all the characters, the stories, what is Beauty, what is her problem, what does she need to solve, what is her flaw, who is Spoo, it's literally a tedious process that you have to really delve deep into these characters, get to beat sheets, which basically outlines each episode. So in episode 1, Dumi is going to arrive from Cape Town and she's going to forget the towels and this is the effect that it has. So each character has to have an arc that you have to think about it. Yeah. So from the whole series and in each episode. So once you've got every episode, then the writers write outlines, which is basically more detail where they're like, interior plain day, Dumi sitting next to an annoying couple. So then you write that up, not with dialogue, just saying exactly what happens in the scenes. And obviously the broadcast at this point is giving notes, giving feedback and saying, change this, don't do this. And what I loved about Netflix is that there was no sort of like, we like SA broadcasters are very scared to sort of make certain jokes or like there's a joke about, you haven't been in this bedroom since we recalled Mbeki. I don't know so much if SABC or whatever would have agreed, like that. So it was so nice to be able to be like free and just be able to tell the jokes that we wanted to tell. So once you got the outlines, they're approved, you move on to scripting, and then they're like 3 drafts usually of the script, and then after that we all sit as writers on Zoom now because of COVID and we read the scripts out loud and we gag polish, and this whole time Kat and I oversee the whole process. We change what we need to do, so we do gag polishes, we say that line is not funny, let's change that, this is not that. And once that's done, we have shooting scripts. And that can go into pre-production. So then you start hiring who you want to direct, the DOP, the production designer. So all these people start to come on board, and then you start making it. I mean, I really like cut out a lot because
by the time you actually start shooting, you want nothing to do with it.
No, actually, it's so exciting. My favorite part is having a script and going, wow, this is so cool. Yeah. And then you're like, who's gonna play these people? Like, who are the people? So then you start like casting, and then people will change your ideas about who the character is gonna play this role.
Does that annoy you? I mean, does that because I imagine you sit through this process for so long, creating these characters, and then actors are like, this is who I see her as.
Oh, I hate it. I do hate it. But at the same time, I think Shonda Rhimes said that she writes her characters with sort of no description, right?
Yeah.
She lets herself be surprised. I can't. And you know what the difficulty thing is? I think that back. So you know what the difficulty thing in that all of that is that I think when you do comedy, it's so specific, and a lot of our actors and actresses are so used to the dramas and the telenovelas and stuff like that. So it becomes so hard to find people who find the funny and the beats without having to play funny. So it is I think casting is probably one of the worst parts of the process that I can't stand.
Why?
I suppose you build such an idea of who these people are.
So why don't you get the person who you think is that person? I imagine you have someone in mind.
Sometimes we do. Sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you really don't know who will this be, but you're like so excited because you're just like, look at this female Black character that we haven't really seen on our screens before. Like, who could this be? And then you have to do the casting process, which we saw so many people. Yeah. And it's frustrating. It's just so frustrating. And there are times where you just have to go, okay, cool, there's Dumi. I mean, it may not be the Dumi you wanted, or it may not be the beauty you thought you would see, or, whoever it is. But the person is that person. Yeah. That's what's great about it, is that where you finish off writing a script, an actor has to come in and take over. So it's a collaborative process. So there's the words on the page.
It's almost like having your baby and then saying,
I know.
Take good care.
And it's so scary. Yeah. It's so scary because you're like, oh no, does she know how to handle the baby? Oh. no, my baby's still, and as a producer, you do have to trust your production designer, you have to trust your director, your DOP, you have to trust everyone. I know you guys, like Yonder tells me that every time I came onto sets,
not me. But yeah, they did gossip about you. Let me tell you, every time they're like, oh my gosh, why is Retzi here? I'm used to it because you were the same on My Perfect Family, like from the very beginning. So I'm like, she's always on set. And they're like, we've never seen a producer that's always on set like Retzi is. Yonder snitched. Did Yonder?
Yeah, Yonder was like, he'd go back to the makeup truck. She's here. She's here.
That's exactly what happened.
And I'm just like, guys, I'm just overseeing the process.
No, go away. Leave us.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that was quite funny.
That is funny. So what's next? What's next for Burnt Onion?
Well, we have 2 movies that we're going to be shooting very soon this year. So quite excited for that. It's a family comedy and another rom-com, but a very different one. The rom-com, Lobola Man, and then Disaster Holidays, a family comedy. And who knows? Maybe there's the How to Ruin Christmas.
That would be nice. We can call it How to Ruin Easter. I've heard a few suggestions.
I've heard every holiday under the sun.
How to Ruin Day of Reconciliation.
Exactly. An American was like, how to ruin St. Patrick's Day. And I was like, we don't even celebrate that here. I was just like,
no, we don't.
But yeah, so Dumi must just ruin even Guy Fawkes. Someone was like, Dumi must ruin Guy Fawkes. So
but
like,
I suggest, we shoot out of the country this time, somewhere remote, like a Mauritius, I think aren't we supposed to go to Mauritius? Are we going to Mauritius?
But I have to ask, you're pregnant now, so what?
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Am I though? Am I really?
Are you?
Retzi, it's been amazing.
I hope Netflix is listening and watching this.
Thank you so very much for letting us pick your brain, and congratulations on all your success.
Oh, and congrats to you too, because obviously I've seen you from playing Thando.
Yes.
To playing.
Yeah. Thank you, Retzi. Told you you'd like it. Remember, if you did like it, to comment, like, and subscribe, and remind me or tell me who you'd like me to feature on Tv&R next time. Something you're interested in, whether it's behind the scenes or in front of the camera. I'll be happy to indulge you. I know this is the first episode of the year. There'll be more to come, much more frequently. Like we did last year, we'll do it every single 2 weeks. So until then, bye.